Howdy there, and welcome to your week 4 midweek check-in. How's everyone doing right there? I love this filter. It's magical. Okay, so let's briefly go through things that are going on. So hopefully by now, everyone has already watched the film. You've already built your thesis statement. You've already started working through the process of outlining and filling in your whole paper. So just to reiterate, a very small kind of recapitulation of what you're supposed to do for your paper. You have to choose one of the films to watch, whether you want to discuss class over The Great Gatsby, you want to discuss gender over Little Women, or race and watch Get Out. And then once you do that, you have to figure out what is the argument that the film is making about that particular theme. Then you have to synthesize the argument of the film with outside sources to determine if the argument is persuasive or credible. Then you need to evaluate the film by offering your respectful and honest judgments. So, did you like the film? Does it do a good job with its argument? Why or why not? And then lastly, create your own argument in response to the film. How could it be made better? What are the filmmakers overlooking? What do they need to give special attention to? And why is this discussion regarding this topic important to our culture and our identity in this moment? And for all of these, that should not be that hard because they're all obviously very relevant. So know that your finished product needs to be in between 1,250 words and 1,500 words. Inevitably, a student is going to email me or come to me during office hours and say, is it okay if it's 1,600 words? No, it's not. You have to trim it down. And that's the best position to be in. If you have too many words, that just means that you've got to figure out succinctly what is important here and then start shaving off what's excess. Or a student will say, what if it's not 1,250 words? What's that mean? Do I fail? No, not necessarily. However, it does mean that you're not fully adhering to the criteria that the prompt is asking you. So it will hurt your grade for sure. But keep looking at that rubric that's in the week 4 file, and you'll get a better understanding of what I'm looking for in terms of how I'm grading the paper. It's a very holistic approach. Now make sure that you have 3 outside sources from the TCC database. Inevitably, a student will ask, does it have to be from the TCC database? Yes, it does. It does. And the reason why is the databases curate this information to make sure that it's valid and credible. It comes from an editorial review board, which means that there are multiple people that are looking at these publications to make sure they're valid, that they're being fact-checked, that it's not just some guy posting something on Tumblr. Okay? So if you're stuck, please make sure that you review these resources. You do not have to watch or engage in all of these resources, but if you feel stuck, by all means, click on something that you think will help you out. And I'm just, once again, going to draw attention to this bullet point in terms of using the TCC database to help you with those outside sources. So I'm going to click right here at the library homepage. I always forget. Sometimes you got to right-click those bad boys. Right-click, open a link in new tab, and there we are. Okay? Now, it all depends on what you're looking for. You could search from the TCC catalog. You could do Jordan Peele Get Out, something like that, and see what it renders, right? And if you do the catalog, it's going to give you every single thing that TCC has on this topic. So you're going to get all sorts of articles, text resources. You can get newspaper articles, reviews, book chapters, which would be really good, videos, journals. There's all sorts of great things that you can do in terms of narrowing your focus here. But you can also search on a list of databases. So here's a few that I like. I like JSTOR a lot. That's a really great resource in terms of finding things that people are writing about in terms of art. That works really well. Pop culture studies works really well. If you're looking for a more broad approach, what you can do is you can go down to the category that's bolded with the news and controversial issues. So if you're discussing a larger topic, like let's say maybe you want to discuss class in general or gender in general, it's a funny sentence. Issues and controversies works really well. It's a really great resource. Opposing viewpoints and context from Gale works really well too. I mean, police brutality and reform, that's extremely relevant to Get Out, things like that. Or if you look at something like Race in America, let's see if this renders anything effective. Yeah, and notice here you've got articles, primary sources. Generally, I would stick with something like articles or media would work really well. Infographics works really well too. You're more than welcome to use any resource that you see here, but it's really just up to you to investigate and kind of look around a little bit. So I would encourage you to do that. If you get stuck, please make sure that you find me for office hours today. Tomorrow might be a little bit more difficult to get in touch with me, but you can contact me on my phone and I'll be happy to text you back through Google Hangouts. I can do that. But just don't panic. It's your rough draft that's due on Sunday by 11:59 p.m. And know that your final essay is going to be due next week. But also keep in mind that that is not a full week, right? So if you look at your syllabus, you'll see that your final essay is not due on that Sunday, but it's due on July 2nd, which is a Thursday. So keep that in mind. So we're prepping for all these things so you can be ready to submit that final essay on Thursday. Okay, so the last thing I want to leave you with is one of my favorite poems by one of my favorite poets. His name is Wendell Berry. And if you've been in one of my other classes, you've probably seen this poem before. It's an incredibly comforting poem that takes into account the craziness of life that we're in. And I just want to share it with you. So it's called The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. So I hope this poem finds you well this week. I hope that you're feeling peace and rested. Finish strong. You are almost done. You're almost there. This class has been doing exceptionally well. So make sure that you finish strong, and I hope that you find some peace this week in the midst of all the craziness. So y'all have an awesome week, and I will see you soon.